Nova 405, The Plastic Prison. Producer David Kuhn, WGBH-TV, Boston.
This program was produced by WGBH Boston, which is solely responsible for its content. Major funding for this program is provided by public television stations. Additional support is provided by unrestricted general program grants from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the Ford Foundation, and by grants from Exxon Corporation and the National Science Foundation.
What is that, David?
This is the airlock to a small isolating chamber in Houston, Texas. Inside it is a 5-year-old boy who has lived in the plastic bubble all his life. All his food and clothing, all his toys and games must pass through this airlock, and everything must be absolutely sterile. His mother has never been able to touch him directly, for if she did, it could lead to his death. His name is David, and he has a disease called severe combined immune deficiency. He has no resistance whatever to disease or infection. For him, any contact with the everyday world could be fatal. This film of David was taken in late 1975 when he was 4.
Don't you want to play the cereal game?
He's still inside his bubble, and his life is much the same.
Mom, look at that little circle in there. Just like the thing.
His day begins with breakfast with his mother, Carol Ann. He eats packaged food because it's easiest to sterilize.
Let's give a quick bath because we have lots to do today.
Why?
Well, we have to clean everything this morning and play with your toys. Come here. Let's take this top off.
Reversible rubber gloves are installed at intervals in the sides of the plastic bubble. They are the only way Carol Ann can touch David or the sterilized things around him.
Baths are not so terrible, David. That's how we keep your hair nice and shiny.
My feet are sweaty.
Your feet are sweaty? Well, take your pajamas off and we'll put them right here on the wash rag. Let's do your hair first.
No! I'm going to do it after I get all this off.
Here, now I'll warm the wash rag for you, okay?
No.
There's no dirt in the isolator, so she doesn't have to use any soap.
Okay, come down here. I can't reach you.
Oh.
Okay, get all that cereal out. Let me see your face. Now, can you clean your ears?
No, I can't.
Yes, stick your finger in the wash rag. I saw wax in your ears yesterday. Just clean your ears real quick. Okay, now let's clean your neck.
No, not my neck.
All right, not your neck. We'll get your neck tomorrow. What you have between your toes? Help me? Look, watch what I'm doing.
The gloves don't reach everywhere,
Let's get your shirt on.
so David has learned to do a lot for himself.
I'll go and give it to me.
Oh, I sure will. All right. Now we have just to comb your hair. All right. Now sit down. Now look at me. Can you come closer?
No, I can't grab it.
Come here. Let's part it. Oh, David, you look so handsome. Now do your eyes, David. Oh, David. Give Mommy a hug. Come here. Give me a hug. Let me hug you.
No.
Come here. One time.
No.
Why not? You look so handsome.
See, this matches this.
Let me see. Come here. Come here. Let me see the fish. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Gonna give me a kiss? Gonna give me a kiss? Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. Okay.
About 50 cases of severe combined immune deficiency are diagnosed every year in the United States. But David's 5 years in isolation are the longest in medical history. David is the third child born into this family, and the second son. The events which put him into isolation began before he was born. The Children's Hospital, Philadelphia. The immunologist in charge of David's case moved here 2 years ago, but she commutes regularly to Houston. She recalls the family history which provided a tragic warning. Dr. Mary Ann South.
The first boy in this family had severe combined immune deficiency, and he was very ill, was diagnosed when he was about 5 months old and died when he was 7 months old. We didn't know whether this was a familial type of disease or not, because in this particular family, there was no family history at all of this having ever occurred before. And so the family decided to have another child, and we decided that we would check and see if it was a boy or a girl, because we were sure that if this was familial, it would be the type of genetic transmission in which only the boys would be affected. It did turn out that this was a boy, and we decided at that point to use the protected environment to do a germ-free delivery and put the baby boy into the protected environment as soon as he was born.
Safe in isolation, David's blood was tested. The news was bad. Like his brother before him, David had no immunity. No cure was available, but in the bubble, he was at least safe from the infections which could kill him.
In David's case, we have a child who has remained absolutely well. He has never been sick. The only abnormality is that he has remained in the protective isolation, and he has not had contact with the outside world. But in all other respects, he's been perfectly normal.
David lives at home about half the time, and his parents make things as normal as they can.
This is set up to give David the idea of a home. We each have rooms we sleep in, eat in, and play in, and so does David. His first isolator is the isolator that he sleeps in. Now, David likes to play in this isolator because of the perfect view that he has to our kitchen, our eating area, the utility room, and onto the garage. He can participate in the activity in the kitchen, and we can converse without me actually being in here. Throw me another kiss.
David, you want to be Dracula? Huh? Want to be Dracula? No, I can't. Want to be the Count? No!
Then this is the connection between the two isolators, and David goes through here onto this isolator. And this is David's playroom. All of his toys are kept in here, and his potty chair. David is potty trained, which I think was a great feat, and it makes it a lot easier on me, too. He eats in here. He also watches TV in here. We have a routine every evening, David and I, with wash rags and water. That's all we have ever used, either cleaning David or cleaning the isolator. David has never had soap on his body, and neither has the isolator. I just go in the gloves and soak a wash rag with water, and then wipe the walls like this. and David will clean where I can. And then after we finish cleaning the inside, I'll take a rag and some soap and I'll wash the outside. We always have lip prints on the bubble because of the kissing that we do back and forth. At the end of the day, we always have a bag of waste. Empty bottles, soiled diapers, old clothes, and broken toys.
No!
Okay. There you go. I'll do it again. All right.
Though the length of David's isolation is unique in the world, his disease is not. In London, there's been some pioneering work in treating children with immune deficiencies here at Westminster Hospital. But treatment has to begin with an understanding of the immune system itself. Professor John Hobbs.
The major part of our immune defense system resides in the white blood cells which circulate in our bloodstream. And you and I, as adults, produce 100 billion white cells a day. These come from our bone marrow. And the first cells, which can be recognized as the human bone marrow, arise in the fetal liver at about the 8th week of pregnancy, and then migrate to the bones and develop into two major lines, one here which gives rise to the red blood cells, and another line which gives rise to the lymphoid white cells. These lymphoid white cells are the cells which can specifically recognize foreign invaders of the body and can store a memory of them so that they can react much faster when they see them again. In the last 10 years, there's been a big development of our knowledge of this line, and we now know that at about 12 weeks of pregnancy, it develops into two other lines. Just how this happens, we don't know, but we do know that this precursor, when acted on by factors from the thymus, will become a T lymphocyte. These T cells are now able to specifically recognize foreign antigens such as tuberculosis bacilli or fungi or foreign tissue cells, and will be able to set up an immune reaction against them. This other line, the B cell line, is the one that eventually synthesizes and secretes antibodies. And these antibodies are chemicals which circulate in the bloodstream and can become attached to foreign invaders, especially bacteria and viruses, and it is this attachment that helps to dispose of them. The white cells, which actually do the work of destroying the invader, are derived from the red cell line of the bone marrow, and they are called phagocytes because they literally eat the invaders. To do this, it is essential that they receive effective recognition information from the B and T lymphocytes.
This is a healthy immune system in action. On the left, phagocytes, the working white cells, ingesting and killing bacteria around them. They then dive into the main mass of invading bacteria to destroy them. The process gives phagocytes their name, from the Greek phagos, meaning I eat. A breakdown can occur almost anywhere in this complex system to cause an immune deficiency. But it can sometimes be cured by repairing the source of the whole system, the bone marrow. Healthy bone marrow from a normal donor can be transplanted. It will then take up residence in the patient and manufacture working versions of all the white cell lines. In Hyde Park, London, a little girl plays with her brother and sister. Her name is Tara Doyle, and she's almost unique. Tara was born 6 years ago with the same disease as David, and she nearly died. But Tara was not isolated in a bubble. Instead, doctors at Westminster Hospital were able to give her a transplant of bone marrow from her brother Mark. It saved her life and ended her mother's worry.
She got everything, infection of all kinds. And gradually she lost weight. I mean, as I said to the doctor, I wouldn't recognize, only I was seeing her every day, I wouldn't recognize it was my baby, because she was 15 pounds then, and she went down to 4 pounds. And then she was about 8 months old then. She was just absolutely disappearing off the face of the earth, And there was months there, really. She was just going down all the time, There's no hope. Until she had a transplant, and then she picked up after that.
Tara's was one of the first few successful bone marrow transplants in the world. It's now making the white cells which her own system could not, and it provides her with full resistance to disease and infection. But Tara was very lucky. She had a brother whose bone marrow matched hers closely, so the transplant was possible. Not everyone is so fortunate.
There was a family, oh so poor, no food was in the kettle to feed father and stepmother and young Hansel and Gretel. 2 minutes.
Anthony Nolan has no brothers or sisters, and he needs a bone marrow transplant too.
I'll give you a daisy a day. I'll give you a daisy.
Unlike David, Anthony doesn't require total isolation. He has both B and T cell systems, but they're only partially effective. Drugs help, but there are side effects like his swollen face. He's protected against everyday hazards like cuts and scratches, but not against common diseases like influenza. The only possible cure is a bone marrow transplant. But up to now, no donor has been found. Though Anthony need not stay in an isolator, he's only allowed contact with his mother. And during the winter months, when viruses are most active, they never even leave the house.
He has had no contact at all in his life with the outside world. He has no comprehension of the normal childhood pleasures of playing with other children, having pets, visiting other people's homes. Anthony has never played with other children because, of course, it would prove fatal. We function on a 24-hour roster, and every day is exactly the same. During those winter months, it really doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It really doesn't matter what week it is. It matters that we get through a time period and keep the child alive during that dangerous time period. Our entire life is subjected to keeping Anthony alive, and our total existence is Anthony Nolan. I really cannot sort of sum it up in any other way. Our sacrifices are total. Our life is totally subject to Anthony.
Anthony is not the only one who must wait. The names of many children, including David in Houston, are displayed on the wall of a laboratory in Westminster Hospital. For here there is a unique registration system for willing donors of bone marrow. In charge of the register is Dr. David James.
When we find we have a patient who has immune deficiency disease and requires a bone marrow transplant, there are three possibilities. If he has an identical twin, then that will be the perfect donor. The next best chance is in the family, where there is a 1 in 4 chance of finding a compatible donor if the family contains 4 or more children. If we do not find a donor in the family itself, then we have to look for an unrelated donor, and here the possibilities, the chances, are very much worse. At the best, they will be in the order of 1 in 1,000. At the worst, they may be as high as 1 in 50,000, and that is the position with Anthony Nolan, for whom we are looking for a donor and have been for the last 2 years.
Through public appeals for Anthony, Mrs. Nolan has raised much of the money supporting the bone marrow register at Westminster. Since, strictly speaking, it's neither research nor treatment, the long process of seeking that 1 in 50,000 receives no government support. So far, 12,000 people have volunteered to give bone marrow, if they ever match any needy child. But why is it so difficult to match a donor with a patient?
Now, unlike blood transfusion, typing for tissue transplantation is not a matter of looking for the blood groups A, B, and O, although these have to be taken into account. We all have an inbuilt self-recognition mechanism by which our lymphocytes are able to detect differences between our own tissues and those of other individuals of a different genetic pattern. Indeed, the lymphocytes can recognize and attack the tissues, in other words, the graft, a kidney graft, a bone marrow graft from another person, if it is of a different genetic pattern. And also, the lymphocytes of that graft can react against the patient himself if they recognize a difference. They can, and indeed sometimes do, kill the patient because of this recognition. And therefore it is extremely important that the tissue typing of donor and patient is very accurately done.
Tissue typing uses the lymphocytes, the white cells, in a small sample of blood from donor or patient. A drop is put into each of 60 wells in a plate. Each well contains a different serum, which will react only if the sample cells match it. The plates are stained and examined on a special microscope. In most wells, the sample white cells will be unaffected, but in a few, they become darkened by reaction with the serum. By reading the patterns of the darkened cells, a specialist can identify the tissue type of the person being tested. Tissue types are identified by numbers on a worldwide standard, and computers can be used to cross-check donors with waiting patients. For Anthony, the printout is discouraging. Some near misses, but no likely match. Then, during this methodical search, something completely unexpected happened. The one man in 50,000 with a tissue type like Anthony's arrives at London Airport. By chance, an immunologist visiting Dr. James from New Zealand thought he had a patient to match Anthony. From her isolation near London, Mrs. Nolan brings fresh blood samples from Anthony to the hospital. They're needed for the final test before a bone marrow transplant can be done. At Westminster, Professor Hobbs takes another sample of blood, which has traveled halfway around the world.
Well, we're getting Anthony's blood today. We're doing MLRs in each direction. You know all about that, don't you?
I hope it works anyway.
Thanks very much for coming all this way. I must say, it's the best way to transport the blood inside you.
Yes.
I think the chances are extremely good. All these coincidences, as I said, seem to fit. It seems to be the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle at last are all fitting together to make the complete picture. Let's say I have a feeling in my bones that this is it, and of course we all hope, in fact, that this is the donor, that the operation will go ahead, and that Anthony will have the chance that we waited for so long.
Because of Mrs. Nolan's public appeals, it's a national story in Britain.
Thanks very much.
As the newsmen close in, Dr. James introduces her to Malo Ione, the man from New Zealand whose bone marrow might save Anthony's life.
Pleased to meet you. I've been looking forward to it too, I can assure you. I've got the blood in the bag here. Absolutely tremendous.
We hope this is it.
Indeed, we hope this is it. And a big thumbs up, Sergeant.
If this second test is successful, then of course we shall proceed with the transplant, and the chances of success then will be reasonably good. There are many problems to be solved, of course, before then.
But what are the chances that Marlowe will be the right donor?
The chances at the moment are about 1 in 10, not more. So I think we've got to remember that it's a reasonable chance, but there are many chances against this one being successful.
The odds have narrowed from 50,000 to 1 to 10 to 1. A final test remains, a mixed lymphocyte reaction, a dry run of the operation.
Ashley's blood's all right. Oh, that's fine. We've got the Samoan chaps here.
Anthony's white cells will be mixed with Malo's to see whether they are, in fact, compatible.
In this, we will take the cells of the donor and treat them with a drug to paralyze them so they cannot react. We will then allow the cells of the patient to react against these in culture, and if they do react, we have a forewarning that the patient is likely to reject the cells of the donor, that is, will reject the bone marrow graft. Then we do this in reverse. We paralyze the cells of the patient, and we let the cells of the would-be donor react with them. And if they show a reaction against the patient, then we have a warning that the donor cells might attack the patient, or, as we say, give rise to a graft versus host reaction. If, after both of these tests, there is no reaction in either direction, then we have done our best to show that the graft is likely to be accepted and will behave itself.
The test takes 6 days.
I love you until the four winds are still, and I'll give you a daisy a day. I'll give you a daisy a...
Finally, the news comes. The tests have failed.
Unfortunately, we found that whereas Anthony was prepared to accept Marlowe in the test tube, Marlowe was prepared to make a small attack on Anthony's cells. The chances are remote, but you do find the needle in the haystack if you go on long enough.
How long can Mrs. Nolan keep Anthony alive like this?
Really, it's a chance element. Our tenacity, our physical and mental stamina to combat the way in which we live. Obviously, we can't gauge this. We just hope that we will be able to cope and get through another winter. We also hope, of course, that my work compiling a bone marrow register of donors will in fact turn up the compatible donor that Anthony needs for a bone marrow transplant.
But very occasionally, immune-deficient children improve without a transplant. In 1970, in Ulm, Germany, a boy named Werner was let out of his isolator. He'd been sealed inside for 2.5 years. Werner hadn't started life in a bubble. He and his twin brother, Irvin, were, like David, born with no resistance to infection. But for them, there had been no warning of anything wrong. The twins quickly caught a series of infections and were hospitalized. They had severe combined immune deficiency. To save their lives, they were put into isolation. Theirs were the first cases of extended isolation for immune deficiency. But with these two, the distinctive cells of the immune system began to appear spontaneously.
Der Wind heute, das ist ein Lauser. Ein solcher Lauser bist du. Hm?
When it looked as if it might be safe, their doctors took the risk and let them out.
Ja, ein Fuß. Und der nächste. So.
Now it was Irvin's turn to leave the safety of his bubble for the bewildering world outside. Up to now, the boys had always had the plastic walls of isolation between them. Now, for the first time, they could meet and touch.
Sag mal guten Tag. Sag mal zum Werner guten Tag.
Au! Hm? Au! Du machst ja nicht au. Du sagst dir grüß Gott. Gib du auch richtig den Arm in die Hand.
A few months after they were let out, Irvin, the boy on the right, was overwhelmed by infection and died. But Werner has survived. This experience in Germany, as well known in the medical world as David's, showed that resistance could develop spontaneously.
All right. Now then, what do you need to make electricity? Come on.
Water? But sometimes the opposite happens, and a working immune system declines. That was the case with this boy.
Not just water. What sort of water?
His name is Martin. Though he can live at home and attend school, his family and his doctors know he has a problem which he's successfully hidden from his friends.
You can, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I saw that.
Martin has a bone marrow disease which affects his phagocyte worker cell production. Unless he has a bone marrow transplant quickly, he'll die.
This don't work very well.
Not all immune deficiency can be treated by bone marrow transplantation. But in the three different diseases of Tara, Anthony, and Martin, a bone marrow graft is the appropriate treatment. In Martin, the defect is essentially a severe deficiency of phagocytes. And although he has B and T lymphocytes, there are no worker cells for them to instruct.
When I was about 7, I felt a bit ill, you know, dizzy, tired, and I went to the doctors and they just put me in hospital. And I've been going in and out ever since. Used to be able to play football easy. Well, I was quite, not bad. I used to play for a club outside school. Well, I stopped about Christmas. Just got tired and can't run around.
Martin's parents recall how they first discovered there was something wrong.
Actually, Martin first, we found bruising on him. We thought he'd been fighting at school, so this came out all over his body. So we took him to the doctors, and the doctors sent him to the hospital. And they diagnosed it from there on.
Without a bone marrow transplant, the prognosis is grim.
Well, this disease that he has is a difficult one because in different families it runs slightly different patterns. But on the whole, there are very few such children who survive much above 21. In some families, they last longer. He has done incredibly well up till now, but I think the writing's on the wall. From the following of the blood tests, we can see he's getting into some very low states.
I think we spent about a couple of months just weeping, you know, and then I think one night we sat down and said, what's the good of crying now? We've got probably far more crying to do later on. Let's make the best of what we got, and this is what we've done.
But Martin is lucky. Tests at Westminster show that one of his brothers is an excellent tissue match. A bone marrow transplant has a good chance of success. There are substantial risks in any transplant. Preparations for this one are exhaustive. First, all of Martin's fillings are replaced. It's the first step in a rigorous effort to get rid of all the microorganisms in his body. Anything which might attack him in the course of the operation must be wiped out. He's given drugs to complete the process of decontamination. In the days before the transplant, Martin, too, is put into isolation. Finally, he's given another series of drugs to kill off his own remaining resistance. This makes it less likely that he'll reject the foreign bone marrow, but it leaves him defenseless.
I think we don't do a bone marrow graft unless we really think we have to. On the whole, we would probably only do a bone marrow graft where we were fairly sure that the natural disease was going to kill the patient.
The day of the transplant, in April 1976. Martin's brother, Adrian, is wheeled into the operating room.
Hello, Adrian. Right place, right.
There's a good supply of marrow in the bones at the top of the legs, and it's from here that most of it is taken.
Ah, good. Good. Now, you don't want to over-dilute this, remember? Now, read out, chaps.
Small amounts of marrow are taken from several places in the hip bones.
Remember to keep the 4-to-1.
It will be replaced by the body's natural processes in about 2 days.
Let's see, that's right. Let's have a look and see how much you've got so far. Oh, good. How many?
About 10 more.
Thank you very much. We want to get as many cells as we can, you see, because we've got a donor who's smaller than the recipient. Mathematically, of course.
After less than an hour, there's enough bone marrow. Inside his tent in the ward, Martin waits for the marrow to arrive from the operating room.
Here we are. Martin, there it is, it's yours. Good to put it into the mill tin, 20 minutes.
While the outside of the bottle is sterilized, Adrian returns from the operating room. He's still heavily sedated, but none the worse for his experience. Their mother keeps Martin up to date with Adrian's progress.
No, he's just sleepy at the moment.
As Adrian slowly recovers consciousness, the doctors and nurses are already beginning the transplant. The marrow is passed into the tent and an intravenous bottle is set up. The actual transplantation is almost an anticlimax. Adrian's marrow drips into Martin's bloodstream like a simple transfusion. From there, it will migrate by some unknown process into his own marrow.
Hello?
Lot of blood.
Yes. Just come down, just finished.
Like it.
Don't know yet, hasn't infected yet.
Feel better?
Yeah.
Adrian's part in the operation is complete. But for Martin, his natural immunity is destroyed by drugs. It's a very dangerous time.
We have a very peak danger period about 8 days after we start giving these drugs, when he will have no white cells of his own to defend him. And we will be putting the graft in perhaps 4 days before he gets to this nadir of his own defenses. And the graft can't take much sooner than another 10 days. So there's a very critical period for about 6 days or 10 days when he has no cells of his own and the graft yet cannot provide them.
This is Martin 7 months after his operation. It was a success. Because of the drug therapy, he lost a good deal of weight and much of his hair. But he's in the clear now and getting stronger every day.
Oh, yeah, much better. I don't get breathless and when I get a cold, you know, it don't seem as bad as it was before. You know, I've got a slight cold now, but it's not as bad as it was before I had the bone marrow. Well, I'm getting my strength back now. I feel quite fit. You know, just beginning to feel the benefit of it. I'm just beginning to kick a ball about now, get my strength back and my muscles back.
Has the experience changed Martin's feelings towards Adrian, who by a lucky chance was able to save his life?
Not really. We've always been, you know, closest in the family. My little brother and me. You know, I've always gone around with him. He's always been my best.
But this family will have to go through the whole experience again. Tracy, like Adrian, is normal and healthy. But Richard has the same bone marrow disease as Martin.
And then I got a telephone call to say bring Richard into hospital immediately. They didn't know how he was walking about. His blood count was so low that they said by all intents and purposes he should sort of been laying spark out with no energy to move, and yet he was at school. I went into the school and had to pick him up and take him into the hospital, and his count was lower than Martin's had ever been, and yet it was Martin that we first discovered it in.
Neither Tracy nor Adrian is a tissue match for Richard, so they can't be donors. But he has a common tissue type, and the Westminster computers have identified nearly 200 possible donors. Mixed lymphocyte cultures are being done with every one of them in hopes that a good match will turn up.
We've just lived from day to day. We've never looked to the future. We've packed up sort of what are we going to do next week. We just live what we're going to do tomorrow, and then when the next day comes, we face it. It's the only way I think you can put up with it. Otherwise, you just go to pieces. When they first discovered it, they told us that we'd lose both of them at puberty. That would be the end, and this is really the way that we've lived. We've got to make most of now because we don't know what's going to happen later on. It was only this 2 years ago that they'd really given us hope to look to the future at all.
The enormous recent advances in immunology and tissue matching have given Martin a normal life, and they've given Richard hope. But if an unrelated donor is found for Richard, he faces a difficult and dangerous operation. It's justified only because his life hangs in the balance. In Houston, David's life, while he's isolated, is not in danger. A bone marrow graft might free him, but his sister doesn't match. And Dr. South would hesitate even if they could find an unrelated donor.
Grafting from an unrelated but matched donor is not a well-proven technique. It has been successful in only 2 cases so far, one in London and one in New York at Sloan Kettering. In David, we have a child who is healthy and happy, and if he were given a bone marrow transplant now, he would inevitably have a disease called graft versus host disease, which would make him very ill. And we hesitate very much to do that to David in a situation in which he is not in any kind of jeopardy, is not ill, and is both physically and psychologically, as a matter of fact, very well at the present time.
David's psychological development in isolation was initially a source of worry, but he surprised everybody.
One of the things that has been most amazing to us all about David has been his magnificent psychological and social development.
Another immunologist working with David agrees, Dr. Raphael Wilson.
I liken his visits to the hospital as the visits of a normal child to grandparents and relatives. That in this sense, David's family is a large family. He knows his immediate family and recognizes their primacy. That all of us are part of his family, and he responds to us as he would to uncles and aunts and grandparents, as you can see.
At home, David's view of the outside world is limited to the picture windows at the front of the house. But he has a lot of friends among the neighborhood children who regularly visit him. He's especially close to his sister Catherine. She usually sleeps on a bed next to the bubble. A school teacher visits David twice a week. One of her jobs is to fill the gaps in his experience by showing him animals and objects he's never been able to see in the outside world.
And let's finish our ant farm.
Oh, yeah, it looks like it did. They're going to farm.
Okay, how did they come to us?
When they get in the bottom.
Okay, but they came by an airplane, didn't they?
Oh, look.
Remember, they're sleepy. Okay, we're going to let them
What are they doing? I've got one ant that doesn't want to go into the farm.
But I don't want to. I'm going to let it down.
Well, we'll do it when I'm here. I'm going to let it go and you hold it, okay?
Carol Ann involves David in the day-to-day life of the family whenever possible.
Like that. Oh, David, this is going to be a good cake.
If things are brought to him, David can take part by using the reversible rubber gloves.
Hold it tight, and you can feel it shake. Now I'm going to let go. You have your fingers around it? Oops. You turned it off. Well, here it goes. All right.
I'll do it.
Okay. Doesn't that look good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some experiences they just can't bring to him. A rainstorm, for instance.
Well, he doesn't know what it feels like exactly. He pretends with water. We have distilled water that I use for bathing, and we pour it over his body, and he says it's like rain. And, of course, he is aware of the change in the temperature. He knows when the trees are swaying that it's windy. He knows when the clouds are above that it's threatening to rain. Then he gets very anxious because of the power failures that we have frequently. When the power goes off, the isolators threaten to deflate, and he becomes very excited and very worried. We have an alarm system set up in the house in case the power goes off at night.
And then I ran in the other room and see what's going on.
That's right. If the power should go off at night, the alarm goes on, and we know immediately to turn the generator on.
It goes off in the morning, because you remember that night a long time ago when Catherine got up and she said she was looking at the rain, and it scared me.
It did? Well, a thunderstorm scared you? Or the thunder, or what?
And time me because the power line blew off.
David's disease is rare, and his is the only case ever kept in isolation this long. So there's no way to know whether he might simply outgrow it. But there are some interesting signs.
We had the advantage of knowing that the German twins had made some progress in their time during their isolation, and that their immune system had changed. So we looked for changes in David's immune system, and we have found such changes. We know that his B cells are making some gamma globulin molecules. Now, this is a little bit different than knowing that he can make specific antibody against the measles or any other kind of germ that we've tried. When he was very small, he had no T cells that we could find at all by any method that we tried. And now we can find cells that are actually in pretty normal numbers and that are T cells. And this change came suddenly when he was 2.5 years old.
But these changes aren't nearly enough to let David leave his isolated world. Has he himself ever wanted to get out?
David has made just a few statements about life on the outside. And just the other night, he told me when he gets out of the bubble, he wants to sleep in a bed with Catherine. And I told him, of course, that he can. And he was concerned about what clothes, on another occasion recently, he was concerned about what clothes he would wear when he went to school. And I told him he would wear the clothes that were in the bubble. And he said, no, he didn't want those clothes. He wanted new clothes for school. And but he was talking in terms of not being in here. David is strong, and he has seen everything there is as far as putting this isolator together. David is so strong that we could not keep him in here if he didn't want to be. Removing a cap, which he has control over on the inside, and with a spoon or a sharp object or whatever, just cutting right through here. There are times when there's nothing between David and the outside but just a thin plastic, and all he'd have to do is just remove the cap and he'd be outside. I don't think we could restrain David keep him in here if he didn't want to be in here. He was mischievous one day and took the end of a spoon and poked a few holes in it. But he was just being mischievous and nothing else. David has never done anything that would prove to me or to his doctors that he wants out. These statements that he makes, I don't feel that he really knows what they mean. We can't keep David in here if he doesn't want to be kept in here. It's just too strong.
Is it possible that David is afraid of the outside world?
I doubt it. I doubt it. I think that David had no trouble in going from the bubble into the bigger bubble, from the bigger bubble into the playroom, and I think that he will not have any trouble once he is assured that he can go into the outside world in doing that either.
In a few weeks, David should be able to get nearer the outside world. Engineers at NASA's nearby Johnson Space Center have built him a miniature spacesuit linked to a portable life support system. It filters out germs just as his bubble does. Paul Ferguson designed the system.
The objective of the isolation suit was to maintain the child isolated from his outside environment. So in order to do this, we've made a compact garment, and then in order to give him ventilation, we had to provide air and a power supply for the air. The air is provided from a pair of fans located underneath, and the power for those are from the two batteries here, which is all transported on this lawnmower chassis, which is just off the shelf. You could buy it from any lawnmower manufacturer. Within the limitations of his umbilical, which supplies the air, and the transfer tunnel, which is used to transport the child into the suit, he has great mobility. It's just like a slight pressure on street clothing. We've done tests where the child could run and play and crawl and jump off of little platforms with no difficulty at all once they were slightly acclimatized to the suit.
These were the first tests of the suit, worn by the 4-year-old daughter of a NASA technician. When it's ready, David will be able to run around and play outdoors in complete safety. It will allow him a measure of freedom he's never known. What does his mother most look forward to?
I guess to sit him on my lap. I've cuddled David. You can cuddle David by reaching in both gloves and holding him close to your body. And we used to rock David like that when he was a baby and toss him up in the air. But I've never I've never had him on my lap. And I look forward to the day when I can set him on my lap and embrace him. He may not like that, but I would.
David is unique. Most children born with this disease are not isolated as he is. They're cured or they don't survive. His isolation, with no cure in sight, leads to difficult questions.
Everyone involved in David's care has felt trapped by the situation at one time or another. We have been very thankful for the situation, in that we are very glad not to have been trapped into taking care of a very, very sick child who is constantly on the verge of another disaster. And so when we really think about it, we think that we are very free in our care of David since he is in the isolator. And it's very easy to care for him in the isolator. But we have all gone through periods when we have felt, oh, what are we going to do next? Because we do feel that it's a problem that we can't just turn off and walk away from. It's David's life, And it's a whole spectrum of medical inquiry that we're doing, and we can't get away from it. We can't get out of it in any way.
How does David's mother feel about keeping him in isolation indefinitely?
Well, I've had very few people ask me a question like that. There've been some. I think it's quite obvious that David owes his life to this isolator, and without the isolator, Bubbles, he probably would not have seen his first birthday. We are very proud of it and very, very pleased to have it here. And David has developed beautifully, physically, psychologically, and there is not any indication to me, and I'm speaking as David's mother, that he wishes to be anyplace else but here. We're very optimistic about David's problem, with all his genius doctors working on his case all over the world. We truly believe that one day, soon, David will be able to come out. And then when he comes out, then I've really got problems. It'll happen soon. It will. There's no other thought but that. And as long as David can remain happy and jolly and very normal and very rambunctious, then we will be satisfied to go on with this indefinitely until they can find a cure for him.
This program was produced by WGBH Boston, which is solely responsible for its content. Major funding for this program was provided by public television stations. Additional support was provided by unrestricted general program grants from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the Ford Foundation, and by grants from Exxon Corporation and the National Science Foundation.